Hello everyone, this is Daniel Mahoney with Building Code Education, and today we're going to be going over our ICC exam preparation and study tips. These are tips that we give to individuals that are interested in taking an ICC exam for the first time and don't have experience taking these sorts of exams. We broke it down into 3 different sections. We have the preparation before the exam, what to do during the exam, and then also what you should do after you finish the exam. So before the exam, the first thing you're probably going to need to do is obtain the code books and any reference material needed for the exam. We also recommend using the ICC turbo tabs. These really just help you find sections quicker, and it also, just that visual aspect really helps you remember how the book's laid out, so that also helps. We also recommend, the ICC Study Companion. It's a really good reference when preparing and studying for these exams. They kind of go into more depth on certain code sections, have some more pictures, and then also a lot of practice questions, which really get you in the book and help you, get familiar with how the book's laid out. So you're going to want to get all your book, your study material, start highlighting your books and reviewing the book. And also we recommend, taking preparation courses like the ones that we will be offering soon by Building Code Education. So after you get your materials, start going through the book, you're going to want to schedule the exam date. And setting a date really helps provide the motivation needed to prepare. I recommend that you schedule an exam date at least a month ahead of time, and this will give you adequate time to study and get prepared. We also recommend reading the exam catalog, which outlines the exam content, and that will kind of give you an idea of what specific sections you should study and which parts of the book you might need to spend more time studying. So really, it's important to review that exam catalog. And the biggest thing when preparing for a test like this is to study. I mean, everyone's busy, everyone has a lot on their plate. It's easy to put it off, but it's really important to just revise your daily routine to make time to study. I mean, what's worked for me in the past and what I recommend is to study often, but to keep the study sessions short. I mean, I usually try to study for an hour or less at a time, but I also will try to, when I'm preparing for one of these exams, I try to study, almost every day if possible, but only for 1 hour at a time max. The main thing you're going to want to focus on when going through these books is just learning the layout of the code book. It's very important to become familiar with how these books are laid out. It's really impossible to remember every technical requirement in a code book, especially if you're new or if this is your first ICC exam. I recommend going over all the material one time and then, just trying to really remember where things are, and, utilizing study questions and stuff help for you to learn how the book is laid out. And I also recommend, highlighting important sections and, just keep reviewing these sections that you've highlighted. And another thing that might help is reaching out to a mentor of some sort if that's available to you. I mean, us at Building Code Education, we're available if you have any questions about, specific code questions or preparing for an exam. It really helps to approach mentors with specific questions. For example, if you don't understand a table in a code book, take the time to find someone that does understand it and who can help explain it to you. It's better to figure it out before the test than just hope it's not on the exam, and then next thing you're in there and you're like, oh man, this is that part I was hoping I wasn't going to get a question on. So, it's important to really review everything, and even the confusing stuff you should try to understand, or at least reach out to someone who might be able to help you. And then just the night before, really just prepare by getting a good night's sleep and show up early the morning of the exam. It's better to show up 20 minutes early and get to go through your book one more time than scrambling to get out the door and getting anxious because you're not sure if you're going to make it on time. So I recommend to schedule your day accordingly and try to arrive early. So during the exam, at this point, you're basically prepared as you're going to be. So it's just try to take some deep breaths and do your best. I believe that a positive attitude helps. I believe that in many aspects of life, but you're there to take an ICC exam and get a certification, so that's what you should be thinking about. And then for the questions, make sure you read all the questions carefully and completely before answering any questions. Sometimes the questions can be worded, tricky, or they're trying to, really get you thinking. So, it's important to make sure you read them completely and carefully. And also, don't forget to read your footnotes when you have questions from the tables in the books. Some of the answers will be found in the footnotes, so don't ignore those footnotes. And then when you're taking the exam, it's important to prioritize the questions. So these exams are timed and they're also weighted. So some questions are worth more than others, but really I recommend that you start by doing the questions by memory. If this is your first ICC exam, you may not know many by memory, but hopefully you know at least a few questions by memory. So I would start by answering those. And also, while you're going through the exam, you can also do the questions that you can find quickly. So you might not memorize the exact dimension or what the exact answer is, but if you can find it quickly, just take the time, find that answer, and move on. For the tricky questions you're not sure about, I would recommend to utilize the mark feature. There's no point in getting bogged down and spending all this time on difficult questions, because you want to get as many questions or answer as many questions as you can, get as many of those right, so you don't get penalized for answering a question incorrectly. So you should answer every question, even if you're taking a guess at the end. But so don't leave any questions unanswered, but mark those ones that are tricky for you and go back to them at the end once you've have a little time and you can spend a little more time looking for those tricky questions. So I recommend go back to those at the end. And then also, if you have finished the exam and you're happy with all your questions, you should really just use the extra time that you have to review all your questions. I mean, any that you're not 100% about, you should go back and review those. There's no extra points for finishing early, so you allotted this time to take the exam, so you may as well utilize all that time. So now that you've completed your exam, congratulations. If you put in the time and effort it takes to properly prepare for an exam, you are now officially ICC certified, and now's a good time to request your wall certificate, so you have that nice piece of paper to remind you of all the hard work and preparation that went into becoming certified. Also, remember that you do have the ability to challenge any questions that you feel might not be fair or maybe even incorrect. You can challenge those questions, and in some circumstances this could be the difference between passing or failing an exam. And then lastly, we encourage you to try to remember and write down questions that you struggled with. Right after you took the exam, write those questions down and take the time to maybe reach out to a mentor or someone that has more code knowledge and see if you can, talk about those questions. And it's just a really good learning experience. Even if you passed and got your certification in this field, you're always going to be learning. So it's just important to make sure you can understand as much as possible. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions regarding this video or questions about taking an ICC exam, feel free to comment below, or you can DM us on Facebook or LinkedIn. We can also be reached on our website contact page. For more information and other free resources, you can visit our website at buildingcodeed.com. Thanks again.